All right, so let's talk about something we all kind of dread. Feeling sick is just the worst, right? But feeling sick when you're in a foreign country, that can be seriously stressful. So in this explainer, we're going to give you the exact German phrases you need to tell a doctor what's wrong and, crucially, understand their advice. And believe it or not, it all comes down to just a couple of simple grammar rules.
So, let's set the scene. Imagine you're in Berlin, you wake up, and boom, a pounding headache. You know you need to see a doctor, but what do you even say? How do you kick off that conversation? Well, that's exactly what we're going to walk you through right now.
Okay, first things first. The biggest hurdle, really, is just explaining your symptoms clearly. So let's start with the basics, how to describe what's actually hurting. So you've got to start with the building blocks, right? The basic vocabulary. A cough, that's der Husten. A fever is das Fieber. If you've got a cold or a runny nose, it's der Schnupfen. And for just general aches and pains, the word you need is die Schmerzen. Think of these four words as your essential toolkit. Okay, but knowing the word for pains isn't quite enough, is it? I mean, you can't just walk in and say, head hurts. You need to say, my head hurts. So how do you actually do that in German? How do you show it belongs to you? And the answer to that question is our first major grammar tool, possessive pronouns. It sounds fancy, but it's really simple. These are just the little words that show something belongs to someone, like my, your, or his in English. They're the glue that connects the symptom directly to you. And the connection is super straightforward. If you're talking about yourself, ich, or I, the word you need is mine. If you're talking to a friend using the informal du, it's dein. So, mine is my, dein is your. Easy peasy. Okay, let's put it all together now. This is the payoff. To say my head hurts, you say, mein Kopf tut weh. See how that works? You've got your possessive, mein, then the body part, Kopf, and finally the phrase for hurts, which is tut weh. Honestly, this might be the single most useful phrase we cover today. All right, but you knew this was coming, right? It's German, so there's always a little twist, and here it is. The ending of mein can actually change depending on the word that comes after it. So for masculine and neuter words like Arzt for doctor or Rezept for prescription, it's just mein. Simple. But for feminine or plural words like Apotheke, the pharmacy, or Tabletten, tablets, you've got to stick an E on the end, meine. It's a really small detail, but it makes a huge difference in sounding natural. Okay, so you've totally got this for talking about yourself. But what if you're not the one who's sick? What if you're with a friend or your partner or your kid? Now you need to know how to talk about them. Well, to talk about other people, you just swap out the pronoun. It's pretty logical. For he or er, the possessive is sein. For she or sie, it becomes ihr. Now, here's where you got to pay attention. For they, which is also sie, the word is, you guessed it, ihr again. Yeah, so you really have to use the context of the conversation to figure out if you mean her or their. So, let's say your male friend is feeling unwell. You just say, sein Kopf tut weh. His head hurts. See? The sentence structure is identical. You literally just swap out the pronoun.
And for a female friend who has a sore throat, it's the exact same logic. Ihr Hals tut weh. Her throat hurts. It really is the same simple, powerful formula. Okay, mission accomplished. You've explained the problem perfectly. Now the tables turn, the doctor starts talking, and you need to understand their instructions. This brings us to our second really important grammar tool. We're talking about something called the imperative. I know, it sounds super technical, but all it really is the grammar you use for giving commands. Every time a doctor says something like, take this pill, or drink more water, that's the imperative in action. It's just the language of instructions. Here's a classic you'll probably hear. The doctor might say, machen Sie den Mund auf. It's a very direct, very clear command that just means open your mouth. Did you catch that word Sie in there? That's the formal way to say you in German. And with doctors, you're pretty much always going to hear this formal version. It's all about showing respect. And the great news is, forming this kind of command is incredibly easy. You just take the verb, in this case, machen, and put Sie right after it. But what if you're the one giving the advice, maybe to a friend? You're not going to use the formal Sie, right? You'll use the informal do command. And it's a super simple three-step recipe. You start with the verb, like trinken, which means to drink. Then you find the do form, which is du trinkst. And for the last step, you just chop off the do and the st ending. What are you left with? Trink. Just like that. Drink. And once you know this formal pattern, you'll start hearing it everywhere from the doctor. Gehen Sie, go. Nehmen Sie, take. Trinken Sie, drink. It even works for things you shouldn't do. Rauchen Sie nicht means don't smoke. See the pattern? It's always the verb, then Sie. So consistent and really easy to spot once you know what you're looking for.
Now, the informal command has just one more little layer to it. If you're talking to just one friend, you use that do form we just figured out, like nimm eine Tablette, take a tablet. But what if you're talking to a couple of friends at the same time? Well, then you have to switch to the ihr form and you'd say nehmt eine Tablette. It's basically the difference between talking to one person versus talking to a group. So there you have it. We've gone over how to say what's wrong and how to understand what you need to do to get better. So let's wrap this all up with, well, your prescription for success. You know, when you boil it all down, it's really just two big ideas. First, you've got possessives, which show who's feeling the pain, like in mein Hals tut weh. And second, you have the imperative, which helps you understand commands, like trink viel Tee. Seriously, with just these two tools in your pocket, you can handle the whole conversation. And that's really it. You now have the key pieces of grammar you need to walk into a German doctor's office, explain what's wrong, whether it's for you or someone else, and actually understand the instructions to get better. You're ready. This whole thing just goes to show you that learning a language is so much more than memorizing vocabulary lists, right? It's about unlocking real-life situations. You've basically just been handed a set of keys to navigate a trip to the doctor in Germany. And it kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other doors could you open if you just had the right grammatical keys?